Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Real Estate Experience, where myself and also other entrepreneurs and investors share their experience in this journey, in this realm, whether that is real estate or other sectors, but majority real estate, where they provide insights to their successes and also the mistakes. Because I believe, and this is one belief I've recently taken on, is it's good to learn from your mistakes, but it's even better to learn from others' mistakes and to avoid those pitfalls and potholes that they have experienced. And if you're on YouTube right now, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're in the shower washing your butt and even brushing your teeth at the same time, which would be very interesting. Once you get out the shower and you get access to iTunes, those of you who are driving too, leave a 5-star review. It would mean the world to me. So today, we're just going to be going over some Q&A, and these are the questions that I'm going to ask myself that I ask to other guests that are on the show. There's some little off-the-wall questions that's a little different, because when it comes to really being successful in the industry, and this is what I've seen from my research, it's more on the mindset and also mechanics, but majority of it is just how you think about things and your beliefs as well. So we'll go ahead and get into those types of questions, and I'll ask myself. And one thing is, I'm still learning. That's one thing I want to allude to everyone. I'm not perfect by any means. And if you're just now coming across me, one thing is, I have my book, which is from 0 to 400 units. Wow, I'm just all over the place right now. That I really give some insight to my humble beginnings and how I got to where I am now, how I was able to work with my mentor, how I made the shift from single family to multifamily, how I was able to get my first deal. All of those elements, I really pull back the curtain and give some insight. And if you're just now coming across me, SparkNote version on myself is that born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana, on the parts of the city that people tend to venture away from, and they lock their doors when they're going through. Actually, it's not that bad. Majority of the neighborhoods, though. And grew up with a single mother. Dad was not around, and had a twin brother who it was just my mother, my brother, and I. And she did the best with what she had. We grew up in Section 8 housing, welfare, the food stamps, and any other type of government assistance, I'm sure. She did not mention to us. And love you, Mom, for everything that you do. And so for me, that wasn't enough. I wanted more what I thought things to impress people, the clothes, cars, shoes, and all that. So that's where the entrepreneurship came into existence with the spirit. First product was Kool-Aid, and just really hustled legally because there was a lot of illegal activity. Started in the industry 2009 on the construction side as a laborer, carrying the mortar to the bricklayers. Great respect for those guys, but that's when I fell in love with real estate, but not that aspect. Found a mentor shortly after, where I started working for them for completely free. And was able to purchase my first single family home residence. That was $25,000 as the purchase. That was his cash. An additional $25,000 into it to fund the improvements. And that's how I got started. And this was 23 years old and was able to scale up. Portfolio now to date is just under 600 units. But let's go ahead and jump into the Q&A. I'll go back to it again. As much as the portfolio I do have now and the successes, I've had mistakes. Just the other day, and I always have to check my podcast mic that I have. Those of you on video, as I'm waving my hands weirdly, but I always have to check because I've shot several episodes with this professional mic, but I didn't have it actually plugged in. So the whole entire time I was doing the podcast through the audio from my computer. So I make mistakes still to this day, but that's enough on that. So the first question is just relating to aha moment. It is, when did you realize you want to do real estate? So I answer, and these are the question that I ask guests on the episodes. And also, I would love to hear your insights on what type of questions you would like for me to ask guests to moving forward, to really either its mindset, either tactical ways on how they do specific deals or find deals, how to raise money from investors, how they get investors on board. The first question is, when did you realize you want to do real estate? This was I would say 20 years old. 20 years old when my roommate at the time when I was in college, I had some free time during the summer. His dad owned a construction company, and he ended up dragging me into that, and that's how I got started, and that's when I fell in love with real estate. Not the aspect of the the laborer side, but it's seeing a building. Let's say when we were doing the masonry on this specific project, is to see it where it is from zero all the way to the completion. I just love like the renovation stages, and when I was formerly flipping houses, that to take something that's completely in distressed condition and then renovate it. I love just that whole creative process and all that goes into that. That's how I fell in love. So the next question is, what made you decide this is a business you wish to pursue? I would say I just ended up myself falling in love with the aspect of just being able to build something and provide to the families on the end in terms of value. So go in, I would say majority of the time these properties are not in good shape. So renovating it and then increasing the overall value of the neighborhood and giving people a more livable place to live. To where they can raise their families versus how it was prior to that, completely distressed. Now it's been renovated to a better standard for people to occupy and a place to call home. That's what I really enjoy. The next question is, how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? This always goes back to episode 7. I believe it's episode 7, where I talk about the 118 unit that ended up walking away from. And that experience, going through it, was not the funnest whatsoever. But through that ended up paying $20,000 of tuition. But from that experience, realized that, and just to give you a little summary of this, is ended up going under contract on the deal and ended up having to blow out of it because the roofs all needed to be replaced, which originally was assuming that it just needed to be patched. And so from that, the next deal after that ended up using that learning lesson, and the roofs were questionable. The roofs were questionable during the initial walkthrough, even prior to going to contract, and was able to get the seller to agree to replace those roofs. So that was a learning lesson that ended up setting myself up for a success at a later point. Also, role playing. One thing is, I attended a conference and I went up on stage to do some role playing. This was at a sales boot camp. Went up there in front of an audience and did some a sample cold call with one of the sales reps that was across from me, and I completely butchered it. And from then on, I felt embarrassed from that. Of course, all the other people said I did a good job, but I was like, no, I was really down on myself, and the salesperson said I needed some work too. And from then on, I really started focusing more on the craft of doing role playing more on a repetition basis, on a daily basis, to really get good at it. All right, so now I'm just going to go into a sample call where I'll be reaching out to an owner. So we're going to jump right into it. Ring, 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 ring. Hello, this is Jim speaking. Hey, Jim, Sterling here. Did I catch you at a bad time? No, you're good. What is this call regarding? Yeah, this is Sterling here, and I know I probably I'll jump right into it because I understand you have quite a bit going on. The reason for the call is I wanted to personally reach out. I just bought Bentwood Apartments right across the street from yours and wanted to see if you consider a great offer to purchase your property. They throw out and say not interested, which is what you'll get majority of the time. Jim, I tell you what, I knew you were going to say that before I even called. Tell you what, give me 30 seconds. If you don't like what you hear, I'll hang up on myself. Sound fair? And then that's when you go more into but originally I butchered that. I did not do so well. And after that, I was able to take that learning experience and decide, okay, this is something that I need to work on. And the next question is along the lines of mindset, because myself personally, I believe that it's majority mindset. 90% to 95% is mindset, and then the remaining is all mechanics. But this question is, in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life? And actually answer this question similar before, but it's just the value of time. And what I mean by value of time is outsourcing things that I do not enjoy doing whatsoever. Of course, there's still things to this day, even in my business, that I don't enjoy doing, but I do them to get to where I am. But I mean even outside of it, meaning grocery shopping. I do not enjoy grocery shopping whatsoever, or even doing my own laundry. I outsource both of those and some other things, such as cleaning the apartment that I live in. But what I was going to mention is outsourcing those type of things so I can focus. I'll pay someone $15, $20 an hour to go do the grocery shopping and do the laundry, because my time is much more valuable, to where I rather focus that on building my business and being more on going direct to an owner to buy a property versus going out and going to the grocery store to get my groceries. If you enjoy that, go ahead and do that, but that's not for me personally. And even the same, if I had a grass or a lawn outside and where I lived at, I would just outsource that too for someone to cut it for $20, $25, because that my time is a lot more valuable than that. Or another prime example is when I go to an amusement park, I went with my little, because I'm a part of Big Brothers Big Sisters, that I paid for, I believe it was about $25 or $30 more to have the fast pass so you could cut the line. Little simple things like that is it's worth, instead of standing in a line for 2 hours to get on one ride, it's worth paying the additional money to spend 10 minutes. Just little things like that. Is one belief that I've really picked up, is just for really valuing time, and that rich people buy time. For the longest time, that did not register and that did not click for me, but it took me multiple repetitions in order to hear it for it to essentially just click. So there's that. And how have you changed from 5 years ago? All right. I am asking some great questions to these guests, but this question, I would say patience. That is the biggest thing as a business owner, that when it came to dealings with employees, that if something wasn't getting done necessarily, I would just run them over, which is not good culturally at all. But now I'm more of taking a step back and being more self-aware that maybe I did not give the instructions properly, so they're confused, or they don't, or I didn't give them the necessary tools, or I didn't give them the context of when it needed to be done by. So that is just more patience and being more self-aware. So two things: patience and more self-awareness. All right, so now we're going to switch over to the tactical side. My monitor actually just went out, so I had to cut it for a little bit. The question is, how are you finding deals in today's hot market? Love this question because I am a deal junkie. This is my side where on the acquisitions, but it's going direct to owner through a cold call. Yes, I said cold call. So bear with me a little bit. I know many of you are getting a little bit squeamish of, you mean cold call by calling a absolute stranger? Yes, I believe this is by far the best way to really get in contact with an owner, especially in today's environment, because the direct mail, that is I leverage direct mail as a follow-up mechanism. That's more of the cold call to really just get someone on the phone so you can really gauge them, because you send a direct mail piece out, then you have to wait for them to call you, and there's a ton of other postcards that they have. And so through the cold call, you can really get a good sense of where it fills someone out and intuitively know whether or not they are interested in selling versus being open to selling. So it's all based upon if they're going to sell for the right price, then that's probably not a right person, or they're open to hearing an offer, and then determining what their level of motivation is by asking question is, why would you sell, or why would you consider on selling? If they say, well, I inherited this property and it's just been a huge pain, then that's a clear sign of motivation, and then you can get a good deal. And through this whole process, it's all about following up, which I've touched on in other episodes, but following up has been a game changer for myself. So a lot of times the person is not raising their hand saying they are ready to sell, and they're not interested at first. And then it takes multiple touch points to convert them from not being interested to being interested, or just being in the right. It comes down to timing. So once they are interested in selling, you followed up at the right time, and you'll be the go-to. I've had deals, 80 unit that I acquired in October of 2018, followed up with that guy for, it was 10 months. From the first touch point to then actually closing on the deal. But through that whole process, it was just multiple follow-ups. And then once they became not interested to then being interested, I was the only person that they were dealing with, and they didn't even consider going through a broker. So the question is, how are you attracting investors to your deals? So formally, it started with friends and family, and then it transition and opened up to investors that were in the country, across the country, and then also international. But the path that I took was the friends and family, and then also local real estate meetups, so doing the networking. And one thing I had to mention too is it's about building relationships. It's not just go to an individual and say, hey, would you invest alongside me? It's about building rapport and relationship and understand what their goals are. Because one is they may not even be a good fit to invest with you. So there's that element of the whole networking, and then also leveraging biggerpockets.com. If you are not on BiggerPockets, you are absolutely losing. Phenomenal source, completely free, but that's another avenue that you can use to network with people online and even take it offline if they happen to be in your network, because there's people on there that are looking to buy deals and network with others and also invest in deals. So the path that I took, I was in the forums posting about my personal experience and helping others who were just getting started. So they would ask a question about how did you do your first deal? I would go in there and provide the context of how things went on my first deal, the mistakes, trials and tribulations, etc. And then I was also doing the member blogs. That was something, and this isn't even the main blog. And then after all that contribution, I was able to graduate by reaching out to, well, not graduate, but I reached out to the main editor to start contributing on the main platform through the written blogs, and also started doing some live streams, and then some vlogs too with videos. That is a video blog for those of you who don't know what a blog is. Hopefully you do. But that was the path that I took, and this comes straight out of the book From Jab, Jab, Right Hook, is value in your content. And then you build brand awareness, and then they look to see what you're doing. And for myself, I was putting together multi-family deals, and people would come across me and see that, oh, well, I can actually invest with him. I'm looking to buy deals, but I'm looking to invest too. So that's how that works in terms of the marketing side and delivering value. But there's other avenues. There's family offices that you can use. There's also social media. Social media is huge right now, leveraging YouTube. There's Instagram. There's LinkedIn. Their algorithm and their reach right now is ridiculous when it comes to posting content on LinkedIn and being able to get the reach. Facebook and Instagram right now, you're absolutely getting throttled in terms of your reach of when you post certain content. So there's that. And now here's some rapid fire questions that are really a little absurd. So one is, what is an unusual habit or absurd thing that you love? Bird watching. Yes, I really love bird watching. And this was the biggest thing I took from college. And by that, I mean, I took this, so I went to college on a 4-year degree, and ended up being 5 years into it, dropped out to focus full-time on business. But I had a human biology degree, and one of the summers I had to take this elective, which was ornithology. Ornithology is the study of birds. I fell in love with this class, and as a college student, didn't enjoy waking up for, not many people enjoy waking up for the 8 a.m. class. I actually enjoyed waking up for this 8 a.m. class and learn about flight patterns, their plumage, which is their feathers, their calls that they have. Really super cool. So that's one thing that I picked up that I really love. What is a common myth about real estate that can be debunked? That one, it is easy. It's not easy by any means. And then secondly is that it takes a lot of money to get started. That was one myth that I had myself, and I had no money actually negative funds in my bank account because I overwithdrew it, just not being financially literate. And no, I had no credit too. When you would pull my credit, it didn't even register. Nothing came up. That's how bad my credit was. So through that is I ended up finding someone to complement my weaknesses, and I was able to complement theirs. By that first deal, they didn't have the time to find a deal. I had the time and was able to bridge the gap with what they had to deliver, which was capital and good credit. Shout out to my mentor, Will, on that. Will Bates. What's the most common reason for people failing or giving up is they fail before they even try. And this is mindset that they believe that they can't do it, or maybe they're not worthy of doing it themselves. I'm all about belief now. That's one thing I'm picking up more and more is how you think about things is how, and this is just me studying and experience sharing, is that it comes down to mindset. I believe it's a quote. I forget who the quote is from, but it says a man who says he can, a man who says he can't are both usually right. I remember Will Smith said it, but I forget who the original person is. All right. And why do you believe we're here on this earth? I believe to give. As simple as that. All right. So we're going to leave things off with this quote. And one mention is those of you who want to work personally with me, go ahead and reach out to Sterling at sterlingwhiteofficial.com. That is Sterling at sterlingwhiteofficial.com. I have recently rolled out this program, essentially where those of you who are looking to transition from single family to multifamily or further optimize your system in multifamily to really scale things so you can focus on a big picture or get the right people on board. Those are all the things I'm more than happy to assist with. Go ahead and email Sterling at sterlingwhiteofficial.com. All right, so we're going to end with a quote. The quote is, if you want something you never had, you have to do something you've never done. Thomas Jefferson. Also on this, I want to mention a quote on the back of this, which is, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, which ties right into this. So for myself, when I really went all in on being an entrepreneur and becoming the strongest version of myself, I cut I completely took a different trajectory in life. I cut off all my friends and I started putting positivity in my mind. So I started reading books, which was something I never really did. And these were books that were more self-improvement. I actually got the CD tapes, Lead the Field by Earl Nightingale, and listened to those so many times I ended up scratching those. But I was doing things completely different than what I was formerly doing. I stopped drinking. I wasn't an alcoholic or anything. I was just drinking on the weekends, binge drinking as a college student. So I cut that out and just did things. I ended up moving out into a friend's den to really just focus full time on building a business. So shedded a lot of the limiting beliefs that I had, stopped watching the news, but just had to do things differently to get to where I am is what I felt. And it's been working. So that could be the same for you. If you're wanting to get to somewhere that you've never got before, then there's not a likelihood that you'll get there doing what you've done to get to where you are now. Hopefully you followed me on that. But that's what I personally believe, and that's what I've seen from others as well, just in my studies and readings and books, and personally what has worked for me. So those of you, truly, I cannot express it enough. Thank you so much for being on these videos and where I'm just doing experience sharing of my personal journey. And if there's any way I can be of value, don't ever hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Be awesome. Don't forget also to leave that 5-star rating. Those of you who are on iTunes, and then on YouTube, subscribe. Thanks for listening to The Real Estate Experience. If this has brought you any value, please subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. It would mean the world to me. Now go out there and crush it.